Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles, Hanukkah. We don't know, but John, a lot of things that he writes about is focused around these feasts. But this one wasn't identified, but we can make sure there were a lot of people in Jerusalem at this time. And so it says, by the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there's a pool called Bethesda, which has 5 colonnades. Within these lay a large number of disabled people, the blind, the lame, and the paralyzed. And then here's the verse 4. It says, for an angel of the Lord, this is the story they believe, for an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first, after the stirring up of the water, stepped in was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. So you can imagine the scramble. When they saw that water bubbling up, you can imagine the scramble of those people trying to get in to be the first so that they could be healed of their affliction. Now, one man was there who had been disabled for 38 years, almost 4 decades. So people knew who this man was. He hadn't given up hope, but he was unsuccessful at this time. And he couldn't do it on his own. He couldn't get in the water. He needed help. So now what we're going to do is show you a section from the series called The Chosen. And this is about the man who was healed at the pool of Bethesda. So you need to listen and watch for this portrayal of the man at the pool of Bethesda.
I have a question for you.
I don't have many answers, but I'm listening.
Do you want to be healed?
Foolish.
We'll get to that later. But my question remains.
Will you take me to the water? No. I'm hearing. So.
Look at me. Look at me. That's not what I asked. I'm not asking you about who's helping you, or who's not helping, or who's getting in your way. I'm asking about you.
I tried.
For a long time, I know. And you don't want false hope again, I understand. But this, get up, pick up your mat, and walk.
Pretty good, huh? Gives you a good idea of what happened there. It's sad what has happened. Jesus went to that place. He knew where these people were and why they were waiting there. Now, where we were at in Tanzania, we came across, there were a lot of beggars on the street. Some were legitimate, they needed help. Others were just lazy. And so the thing was that Jesus saw these people. Now, one of the things I was reading, it says, never ignore the importance of helping people, even one. And it says, do not let the number of needy people overwhelm you so that you help no one. You need to be able to help people. You heard the story about the starfish? You know, the guy walking on the beach, ever saw him pick up a starfish and throw it? Couldn't pick them up all up, but people ask him, why are you doing that? You know, you're just picking up one at a time, random. And he says, what difference does that make? He says it makes a difference to that one starfish. Put it back in the water. And so Jesus picked this man out of the crowd. We don't know why he picked this man. We don't give a reason for this choice. He was exercising his sovereignty. And you notice, he only picked out one man. He didn't heal everybody at that pool. Just the one man. And so the thing is, it's sad that the Pharisees who were standing, did you see Jesus and he looked over at the Pharisees? When the guy, he said, you want to be healed, he looked over at him. And, could Jesus have waited until the next day? This was Shabbat. This was Sabbath. And he could have waited till the next day. He could have waited until even after the sun went down. But Jesus did this on the Sabbath. There was a purpose here. Now, the Old Testament law, they said, forbade work on the Sabbath day. But that was talking about customary work, the normal work that you do. But the Old Testament law doesn't forbid doing good on the Sabbath. The oral tradition, you hear what the rabbi said? You know, that was two of the disciples that were saying, oh, no, not the Old Testament Torah doesn't do that, but the oral tradition speaks against that. And the oral tradition was these rabbis had gotten together and they made up a list of 39 different things that you could not do on the Sabbath. And this was their oral tradition. And so they were looking at it as, well, our oral tradition is just as good as the Torah. You're breaking Shabbat. You're carrying something. I read about an incident in a Jewish area. I think this was in Israel, where there were apartments that caught on fire. And so they said, what do we do? But the question came up, can we use a telephone on the Sabbath day? Because it was on Sabbath. You know, can we use a phone to call, you know, for help? And they got a rabbi, and he decided 30 minutes later that it's okay, you can use the phone. But by that time, the fire had spread to other apartment buildings. And so Jesus did this. He was getting the attention of the Jewish authorities. He was reminding them that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And he was also reminding them that the Pharisees were teaching as doctrines the traditions of men. And they were not supposed to be doing this. They missed the point. The man had been miraculously healed. They were concentrating on the oral traditions, ignoring the needs of the people, and they were using oral traditions to control and manipulate the people, while at the same time they were living hypocritically. They were not following these things. And their practices and their teachings were leading to meaningless worship of God. And so, in verse 14, now we didn't read this verse, but in verse 14 of John chapter 5, it says, after all this occurred, Jesus found this man at the temple. Now this man probably went to the temple. He said, man, I'm praising God. I want to offer some sacrifice. I'm glad that I've been healed. So he found him and he said, Jesus said, see, you are well. You've been healed. So do not sin anymore so that something worse doesn't happen to you. Some people think because of a lifestyle that he lived, he ended up being this way. So he said, do not sin anymore to further complicate the matters and bring more problems into your life. Now, the man knew who healed him. Now he knew who he healed him. He didn't know it was Jesus at that time, but he knew. And the man went and reported to the Jews that it was Jesus who made him well. Therefore, the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he was doing these things, simply doing these things when? On the Sabbath. He was doing good on the Sabbath. Was this man an informant? Did they say, hey, you can find out who it is and come tell us? We don't know. Or was he being intimidated? Saying, you better find out who this is, or we're going to permanently ban you from the temple? We don't know. But he did tell the people, hey, I found out it's Jesus who healed me. And you know, there's a lot of people who want things from God, but they don't show any gratefulness or gratitude in words or service or works. A lot of people feel entitled. I want to live my life the way I want, but God, when I pray, you need to answer my prayer. And that's not right, because we are not entitled. We are not entitled. But when we serve God, he hears our prayers and he'll answer them. I was at Walmart one time. I was in the sporting goods department. I was in there and I was looking at air guns. And this lady that was working back there, she was telling me this story about a guy that walked into Walmart. He went back to that section, got an air rifle, and put it down his pants. I said, what? She said, yeah. He walked in and put the air rifle down his pants. And she said, I saw you. And she said, I confronted him. He said, you can't do that. He said, that's stealing. You can't. He says, oh no. He says, I buy things at Walmart, so Walmart owes me. So he said, they owe me this air rifle. So, you know, just because I hear and buy stuff. So they owe me this. And he walked out of the store with it. He walked out of the store with it. And some people think that they're entitled by God. Hey, I'm a member of a church, I'm a this, that, or the other, so I'm entitled. Doesn't matter what I do, I'm entitled to this. But you see the last part? I like this last part. That was Peter talking to the man who said, time for you to walk, don't forget your bed. And what does the man do? What did he do? Were y'all sleeping during that? Yeah, he picked up his bed. I brought a bed. This is Pam's bed. This is a bed that this man had. And it was very easy to carry. Because the man couldn't carry his own bed, so he would walk. Somebody else would carry this bed. And Pam was given this bed because they said Pamela, or Mama Catalina, as they would call her. When you travel, you'll always have a bed to take with you so that you can lay on the ground. They didn't want you laying on the ground, so they made a bed for her. It's got air controls. It's got comfort. It's got heat. You can inflate it. You can deflate it. You can roll it up. But anyway, y'all can come look at this after church. I'll just leave it right down here. But that's a bed. So this man had a bed like this. And so Peter said, the man said, why does this matter when I pick up bed and walk? He said, because, I like what he said, you're not coming back here anymore. You're not coming. That life is over. Everything changes now. Because he had met Jesus. And have you met Jesus Christ? Has he brought a change into your life? Has everything changed for you? Did you ask him to help you? To forgive you of your sins? To give you what you need? And so where are you at with your relationship to Jesus Christ? Where are you at today? Let's bow our heads, please. Where are you at? The man was healed at the pool of Bethesda. And we don't know the rest of the story. Maybe he followed Jesus for the rest of his life. We don't know. Maybe he didn't. Who knows? But he was healed. There was no doubt about that. Have you encountered Jesus Christ? Has he helped you in some way? And the thing that we've been singing about is that the greatest help he's given us is when he died on the cross and he said the words, "It is finished." He paid the penalty for our sin. And so, now, sin does not have power over us because if we put our faith and trust in Jesus Christ, we can choose to follow him and not follow sin. And then also, when he was resurrected, he demonstrated power over death. A lot of people sin, that's tough. But a lot of people are scared of death. But Jesus demonstrated in his resurrection power over death. We don't have to fear death anymore. We put our faith and trust in him. Where do you put your faith and trust? Is it in Jesus or is it in something else? Karen's going to play one hymn, one verse of a hymn. And I'm going to be down here by the table. If you'd like to come and pray where you're at, come and talk to me after church, whatever you would like, this is your time. Announcements. We do have a business time right after church. But if you look in your bulletin, if you're going to get Easter lilies, tomorrow's the day. But Ann is here right now. And how convenient that you could just give her the slip and the money. Let me rephrase that for y'all. Give her the money and the slip. And that way it'll be done. So, April 21, we're having the Screven Men's Meeting. This is kind of a send-off for Tommy Richardson. He's accepted to be a pastor of a church in Kershaw, South Carolina. So he's not going to be the AMS Associate Missionary Strategist or Director of Missions. So his last day will be April 11, but they're going to give him a send-off, and they've chosen our meeting to do that. And so we're going to be serving spaghetti. And so we've got enough pasta. Karen, is that correct?
We have 176 2-ounce servings.
All right. But what we need now is sauce. All right, so if y'all can just pick up a jar of sauce and ask Tebby about the size jars that you need to get.
You got the big ones.
And now we're going to we're going to get some meatballs and things and add it in with all of that. But we need sauce. The pasta I think we're good on. Sauce, that's what we need. Bread, that's taken care of. Cinnamon rolls, that's taken care of. We got all of that, and drinks and everything. We just need spaghetti sauce, so, okay? And we have sign-up sheets there at the side door. If you'd like to help out with that meeting, there's some things you can do there. Front door, Pam and I are going to be gone for 3 Sundays because my son and daughter-in-law are going to Italy for their 10th anniversary. So we get to keep our grandkids for 2 weeks. And so we're not going to be here for those 3 Sundays, so there's sign-up sheets if you'd like to do something during those Sundays. Deaconesses are all set, but we need other people to fill in and do these things. So, all right, so, that it? All right, so now we're going to stop the service.